Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
Well, you know, I always love to discover a new nonprofit that's doing such great work. And today we ventured up to Glen Burnie to see Hoppe For All and Connie Cooper, who is the executive director of this long, I want to say old nonprofit, but you guys are celebrating your 20th anniversary, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
This is my first time really knowing about the organization, and we just took a little bit of a tour, and it's huge.
Yes.
You've got a lot of work on your hands.
We've got a lot going on.
Well, I will say right away, I'll throw out your website. It's hoppeforall.us, and that for is spelled out, so it's HOPEFORALL.us. And I think that's a great play on words with Hope for All of Us.
Yes. We all need it.
We do. In the most basic sense, you guys are a Christian-founded organization that is looking to help families, individuals get on their feet in homes.
Correct. So it's mainly those folks that are coming out of homelessness and finally getting permanent housing. And so they're moving in, and a lot of them came from transitional housing or housing that where they were living with someone and they had maybe a bed or a dresser or whatever, but they finally move into this permanent housing. It's wonderful. It's great. They've moved on. They've got 4 walls. They're sleeping on the floor. They have no table to eat at. And that's where we come in.
You know, boy, it was, I think back when I got out of school and, you know, starting a house with nothing. And, you know, but for the grace of God, I've been able to provide for myself. But I sit there and I think, you know, oh gosh, I don't have this. I forgot to get a spatula. Mm-hmm. So I quick run to the whatever store to buy a spatula that I didn't have. And it goes on. So, I mean,
it goes on and on. Yeah. So we're dealing with families that are what we call income constrained. So they might be working or they may be getting some assistance, but that income is dedicated to affording their housing, food, the essentials that they need. And so when it comes to do they have money for a bed? Do they have money for a... No. It's constrained. They don't have that extra. I met with a woman the other day, and she was in Annapolis, and she was in Annapolis housing, and I said, why did it, you know, how long have you been here? And she said 2 years, and I was like, well, why did it take you so long to reach out to us? You know, we've been here, would wanted to have helped you. And she said, I kept thinking that the next paycheck I would have enough money to buy a bed for my kids. So here they were in a house with they had a card table for their kitchen table, and they had a desk. That was the entire furniture they had, and they had been there for 2 years.
And this is a mother and children.
3 children. Yes.
Sleeping on the floor?
Sleeping on the floor.
Wow. You don't realize, and I will recommend that everybody get a hold of the Poverty Amongst Plenty.
Yes. Put out by the Community Foundation and Partnership of Children, Youth, and Families.
Yeah, and it really gives an insight into what we have and what we don't have in Anne Arundel County. Mm-hmm. And when you get down to the bottom line, we are all neighbors.
Yes.
We are all in this together. And we need to figure out how to make it work. Mm-hmm. And you've got to help people that need help. If somebody needs a leg up, you got to give them a leg up.
I always feel like God has blessed us with everything that we need here, and it's our job here at Hope for All to make sure it gets to the right house, because a lot of us have more than we need, and when we can help you take that excess from you and give it to someone else, we just spread it around. God's given it to us. We just got to get in the right house.
Well, I think anybody that's moved out of a house, or certainly any of the baby boomers that are starting to downsize and stuff like that, certainly realize that they've got a lot more than they they need. Well, let's talk about Hope for All. I mean, how did this all start 20 years ago?
Yes. This is a wonderful story. There's a man named Leo Zerhusen and his wife Diane, and Leo had gone on a mission trip into Appalachia to do a work camp, and when he was talking to the folks, he asked them, what else could I do for you? And they said, well, we really could use clothes. And so this, and so he's like, okay, he goes back, and with his family and with his friends, they started collecting clothes for Appalachia. Now, Leo and his wife Diane were teachers in the Anne Arundel County public school system, and it dawned on them that their kids in their classrooms were suffering academically because they were being picked on, bullied, whatever, because they didn't have the clothes that the other kids had. And they were like, we could really help the kids in our own classroom. So that inspired Leo and his friends to form a nonprofit called Hoppe For All. And they started with clothes. They moved from clothing to linens to housewares and eventually to furniture. In the first year of it being a nonprofit, they helped 13 families in our Houses into Homes program, where they delivered everything that they need.
What are you doing now?
This past year, we did 382 families, and we are projecting over 400 this fiscal year.
So that need is not getting any less?
No, the need is not going away. Matter of fact, from just the last 6 months compared to the same 6 months last year, we're up 30% in the amount of deliveries in our Houses and Homes program. The pandemic did not do us any favors. We're having a lot of families that are struggling. Rent is skyrocketing, and they're just having a hard time being able to provide for those extra things. We've got now in Anne Arundel County over 30, I think the last number was 30,000 people waiting for housing. So when you think about how that's grown from, I think it's just a couple of years ago, it was 18,000. So that's that many people that are, and they are our future clients. So when they do get housing, when we do have enough places for them to actually live, we're hoping to be there for them. We're hoping to, fill that gap.
Well, I know I monitor a subreddit for Annapolis on Reddit, and very frequently we get questions. Hey, I'm looking to move to the area, and I'm looking for like a 2-bedroom apartment for about $1,500, and Reddit's a really sort of like a cesspool kind of a place anyhow. But they all get all over and say, "Are you kidding me? There's no way that you can do that." And I mean, it's very, very rare that you're able to find something. And if you're finding something like that, it's usually for the benevolence of the homeowner that is looking to do it. And housing prices and mortgage prices, just everything is, food is
it's going up.
Expensive.
And if you're already in a house, you're seeing that as appreciation. Oh, isn't that great? But if you're not in a house and you're you're renting, and so some of the families, we check on our families after we've served them for 6 months, and when we check in on them, and some of them are again struggling to pay the rent, and in fear of eviction, and we're going to start that process all over again. So it is a real problem in our community, how we're outpricing a lot of our community. I think Mr. Pittman said the other night, I was at a town hall, and he said like a third of our county is ALICE, which is income restricted. That means they're working, but they have income. And so you think about that, and you're going, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people that are living paycheck to paycheck and having a hard time.
Well, and we do have so many resources within the county, and obviously Hoppe For All is one huge one. But again, as you're talking about your client that is going through the same situation that they may have been going through 2 years ago, for anybody that's in that situation, reach out. There's plenty of organizations that can get some temporary help or permanent help or to work with you.
Oh, absolutely. We partner with a lot of wonderful organizations that come around the families and try to make sure they have all the support they can get. But even with that, there's still some hurting out there. There's still some people that can't find the help that they need.
Well, Connie, you mentioned that back when you started, it was 13 families that you served, and 382 families served last year, and going to look to break that record, which is not a good record to break.
Nope.
In this year. But what exactly, when you say served, what is serving? And that was the air quotes that nobody can see.
I saw them.
What does serving
look like
mean?
around here?
Yeah.
Okay. So we partner, like I said, with 70 agencies, government agencies, nonprofits, and churches that are already out there working with families, and they find that they have a need that we can fill. So they find a family that is in need of furniture, housing, linens, or clothing. And so a lot of these government agencies are like Department of Social Services, our Anne Arundel County school system, our PPW workers, they can refer into us. We find the Anne Arundel, the Housing Authority, when they know that people are moving in, they can refer them. Annapolis Authority as well. We've got your nonprofits like Sarah's House, Lighthouse Shelter, Arundel House of Hope, all those that are working with the homeless community, and they are knowing when they're moving into housing, knowing when they finally leave that transitional housing. So they're referring them to us. We get the referral, and then we send out a team. It's an intake team of 2 individuals that go and meet with the family, and they have an 8-page intake form that they're filling out that has all the items that the family could possibly need. There's a whole page on furniture, linens, housewares, clothing, baby items. So they're going through, and they go from room to room finding what is it that they need. And most of everything that we give is donated, so we're recycling within the community, but we make sure that it's of good condition and something that we would give our own kids. So we go through, we find out what they need. It comes back here to our warehouse. So we have a 14,000 square foot warehouse that is taking donations, and we have volunteers that come in and process it, to make sure that they're good, and then get them into inventory and ready to go for a family. We get an order for a family, they pack it up. It's then delivered back to them so that they can have that stability that they need. They can have the hope that they need for the future, and then they can know that the community loves them and that God has provided.
So when you said like an 8-page form of everything they can need, I mean, when you say everything, I mean, are you talking everything? And then I'll go back to the analogy of when you move into your first apartment or you move into your first house or something like that, and you don't realize what you need.
Right. So it's everything. So when you think about furniture, so it's a sofa, it's a love seat and a chair, and it's a coffee table, end tables, lamps. So then in the bedroom, it's your bedding. We give all new mattress, box springs, and frames. But then it's your dresser, your nightstand, lamps for the bedroom. In the kitchen, it's a table, it's chairs. Do you need a microwave cart? How about a bookcase? How about a desk for the kids to do their homework on, and a desk chair? So it's all those things we have in our warehouse, just furniture. That was one page. The next page is housewares. So do you need dishes? Do you need pots and pans? Do you need cornerware? Do you need Tupperware? How about silverware? How about glassware, mugs? How about all the small appliances? Coffee pot, toaster.
Wow.
Think about the essentials. We take it for granted that of course we're going to have a toaster. Of course, and a microwave. A lot of the government housing doesn't come with microwaves, so they're all needing microwaves. I'm trying to think of some other things in the kitchen. But even a vacuum, a broom, a mop. Those essentials that you need, and yes, you can go to the dollar store, but that dollar, it adds up. So all the utensils that you might need, your slotted spoon, just spatulas, just what you might need. We had one organization that said, "Oh, we need a basic set." But then every time you think about that basic set, it goes from yes, it's a plate. Oh, but they need a pot. Oh, but they need a spoon that goes in. So it grows, and so we can sit there and whatever they don't have, whatever they feel like they need. I mean, everybody doesn't need a crock pot, and everybody doesn't need certain things.
That's huge. Just because as you're coming out of homelessness, and I mean, the presumption is that you're trying to get back on your feet, and you're probably without a job or underemployed. That $2 that you may spend on a spatula or a new set of spoons is much better put into gas in a car if you've got a car, or into a fare box on a bus to get to a job interview to secure.
And we're trying to stabilize the household, right? So we're trying to stabilize them to the point where they can get up in the morning out of a bed, have their breakfast at a table, and the kids can go to school. The parents can go to work. It's all those things that I think we all forget about. Okay, we're giving them housing. So yeah, they got government housing, but do you realize it's just 4 walls? There's nothing with it. And it sometimes is a very, I've had moms call me and say, I know you're coming, but I'm sitting here on the steps. I have nothing to sit on, and it's a hard time for them because you and I would say, well, it's great. They finally got housing, but yet it's a time when they realize what they don't have.
That's half the battle. The housing, the roof over the head.
And it's important. And the other thing is, you mentioned transportation. Not a lot of our clients have transportation. So the fact that we actually deliver it to them, they didn't have to go to the store. I don't know, how would they bring those things that they were buying on the bus?
Sure.
All those housewares that they need, the furniture that they need.
That's crazy.
It's crazy to even think about in my head to just how that would all happen.
Do you guys supply bicycles?
We will if we have them in the warehouse. Everything that we supply is a wish list, and so at the time we fill the order. So we have the basics that we set aside for the family, and the other areas, the linens and the clothing. But we also have a yard sale that we help support our ministry. So anything that's in the yard sale, like bicycles, and the families will ask for them, and of course we'll give them. The families are a priority. If they want it, that's something that they need.
So I want to talk about two different ways. I want to talk about how can we support Hope for All. Okay, you said you have donations. So I mean, this is like a Goodwill type of a situation where I can come and I've got a whole bunch of clean. I put on a couple pounds so these jeans don't fit kind of clothes. Or I've maybe redone my house and I've got some spare furniture and I bring that to you?
Correct. So we are open Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 9:30 to 3 for those donations. And so yes, if for clothing, please make sure they're clean and not ripped and stained. We want to give the children and the adults dignity, so we make sure we go through all that. So please help us out and make sure that they are clean and that they are free from stains and rips. So that's clothing and then any of the housewares and any of the furniture. And so we will take all that as long, like I said, as it's clean. Same thing with furniture, no rips, no stains. But we'll also pick up furniture. So we have our truck when it goes out in the morning to deliver to the families. When it's coming back, it will pick up furniture in the area that's good. So if we've gone to Annapolis and we're serving 2 or 3 families down there and then we've got an empty truck, we want to then fill that with furniture that we're going to need for the next day.
Stop at Annapolis and Arnold, so we're going to park and bring it back up.
Absolutely, on the way back. So that's how that works.
Well, you guys are located at 122, is it Roesler?
Roesler.
Road in Glen Burnie, which my best, I guess, landmark would be behind Bob Bell Ford.
Okay.
You go just past Bob Bell, I believe, and you take a right if you're heading north on Ritchie Highway. Is that right, or are we just before
No, it's
Bob
just
Bell?
before.
Okay, just before Bob Bell, you take a right, and they're right back there. It's a huge, you said 14,000 square feet?
Correct, yes.
Which is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's packed.
How else can we help you? Okay, we can donate for you.
Donate, and that is usually how people first find out about us. They hear that we'll take clothes or we'll take furniture, and that's how they hear about us. But of course, another way is to come and volunteer. We have over 100 regular volunteers that people that believe in our mission and want to give back and want to help. And so on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we're open for volunteers to come in, or their morning shift or afternoon shift. You might work in the clothing department, or you might help out with a yard sale. Or if you're capable of lifting some furniture, you might go out on our truck and meet our families and deliver their furniture.
What's a volunteer look like? What are they doing here for you?
I
mean, you said they're working in the clothing department, or obviously the truck driver. I get that, and moving furniture. That's a pretty given. But
okay, so most of the departments, what they're doing is they're processing the donations. So people have donated a bag of clothing, or people have donated dishes, and so they're going to go through and they're going to inspect everything, and then they're going to pack them up for the families. And as we fill everything individually for the families, so it's what they've requested. And so when we pack a bag of clothes, it's what they've requested. And they can request, from winter coat to summer shorts and everything in between.
Well, that's fantastic. So it's not a bag 12-year-old boy size 8.
No, it's what they request. And if someone puts on there that they love purple, we'll try to make sure that they get purple clothes, or if we're doing their bedding, that they get purple sheets. So we try to make it. I mean, for the volunteers that work in the warehouse, that makes their day when they know that they've help someone specifically like that really is, that they find out that they like Batman and that they can go find a Batman toy. It is just part of, because they're volunteering in the warehouse, they don't get to see the families, so that is their one touch, that is their one gift, and it's special.
It's got to be really rewarding.
I think so. I started out as a volunteer 12 years ago.
So it's like the Hotel California. You checked in and you could just never leave, right?
Oh, thanks. No, but I believed in the mission. I identified with, and I could see what it was doing for the families. I was already ministering through my church to people that were in need of basic items, and so I saw the difference it makes in them. And so I caught the passion, and so I started as a volunteer in the yard sale area, and I started doing have intakes, meeting with the families. I still do that. I still love to do that.
Well, you mentioned yard sale a couple different times. What does that look like?
So that's our biggest fundraiser, and it happens twice a month on the second Saturday of the month from 8 to 11, and then on it's usually around the last Thursday. We have a special calendar. It's out on the website. We'll do it on Thursday nights from 5 to 7, and so we're having one tonight. It's everything that isn't essential for the family. So it's purses, knickknacks, toys. Just everything you can imagine that people would donate to us. So like you said, they donate like they would donate to Goodwill. But it's usable items. And the volunteers that work in the yard sale, they take the time to make sure it's clean, it's all there, it's packaged, and we have people waiting in line because we're only open twice a month.
These are non-essential households.
Correct.
So it's
pictures for your walls. It's
a little statue that's, a little Buddha statue or something like that that's sitting on the mantle or something along those lines.
Yes, it's knickknacks. I mean, people find great things, and there's some people that are income constrained and want to be able to buy, those things.
Something nice for the...
Yeah, and so we kind of fill a different niche with the yard sale, and it's how Leo, when he started with yard sales. Back in those days, they would packet it all. We would packet it up. I keep saying that wrong. And take it to a church and unpack it, sell it, then repack it back up and bring it back.
Bring it back and then do it all again.
So now that it's in our actual, it's indoor. We call it a yard sale, but it's indoor, and it's constantly being added to as they work through the month, and then we open.
That's great. What do you do with the stuff? I mean, do you ever get overloaded with stuff to either to give out to your clients or to sell in the yard sale?
We have a lot of really great partners that we share with. Just in the clothing, all the clothing that, unfortunately, about half of the clothing that we get is soiled or stained or something. But we share that with Lutheran Mission, who sells that to be recycled, so that we help them in their mission. We also share with a Success in Style, which is an organization that helps people for clothing for interviews and such. And so we send all of our clothing that is appropriate for interviews to them. There's a plethora of organizations. SPCA we share with. We have homeless ministries that we share with. And so if our excess can go to another nonprofit, that is the best. Our excess in our yard sale goes to Our Ladies of Guadalupe down in Annapolis that are they're ministering down there. So yeah, it's a blessing to be able to bless others.
How does somebody get involved with you on the client end of this? I mean, you again talked about different partners and stuff like that. I mean, if I am experiencing homelessness and I've just gotten some housing. How do I get in touch with you? Am I working through other partners, or can I come directly to you? Or
right. So we do work through partners. So usually, if they're just getting housing, then they would go through the housing authority. If they're already getting food stamps, then they already have a relationship with Department of Social Services, so they can go through there.
Okay. These organizations are saying, hey, for your furniture, for your stuff, go to Hoppe For All.
Yeah, we really are unique in this community. We're the only ones that really do what we do as far as the breadth of what we do. So there's not a competition. So most of the organizations, they know us, and we've tried to make not to make it a barrier for people to get. We've tried to make it so that we partner with enough so that there's plenty out there that they can have a path into us.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so it's not to discriminate in any way, because we don't. It is just we're taking care of their basic needs, but we like to partner with organizations that are going to come around them to make sure they get all the services they need and that they're ministered to in plethora of areas, and not just for their basic needs. So this is what we do, but we know that there's other organizations that...
I guess it takes a village, huh?
Yeah, it does.
To do it. There's so many just wonderful organizations throughout the county. Now, speaking of the county, and I know that you said Mr. Zerhusen was a teacher in Anne Arundel County. Is this strictly to Anne Arundel County?
Well, that is
your service area?
Yes, it is our main service area. But because of we border with Curtis Bay and Brooklyn, it has been an area that we've also kind of acquired into Baltimore City. So anything below the Patapsco River.
Okay, well, that makes sense, because you've got a community there that probably needs the services.
They do, and what is even more interesting is a lot of our Anne Arundel County organizations that are referring people into housing and finding them housing, they're in Brooklyn or they're in Curtis Bay because they can't afford Anne Arundel. So we'll get a referral, and we'll be like, oh, this is a county agency, but the person is being placed up there because that's the only way they can find them. So it really, it's an area that needs assistance, and we're glad we can help up there.
It's interesting that your founder received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Community Foundation of Anne Arundel County last year.
Yes.
And that was Leo Zerhus, and just a couple weeks ago, I spoke with Mike Ragland from Langton Green, who was the Lifetime Achievement Award winner for 2023. So I've got two of them under my belt. So I don't know whether it's like, what is the greatest need for Hope for All for right now? What do you need? I mean, if I could, give you, I mean, is it more stuff to help more people? Is it more space to store the stuff that you need to?
Well, I mean, if we're dreaming, I would love to have a building of our own. We rent here, and we are constrained even in the 14,000 square feet. I'd love to have a 25,000 square foot building that was ours. So there's my dream.
There you go.
I'm putting that out there.
So Edward St. John, if you're listening, bring it on. They're at 122 Roesler Road. HopeForAll.us.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes, we have a staff of 14 here. It takes a lot of money to be able to serve the amount of family. I mean, we served 2,000 people last year, so it takes money. So I'm always looking for corporate sponsorships or individuals that believe in what we're doing and want to.
Just an outright donation as a nonprofit.
Yeah. So that I should never not ask.
Sure.
If you don't ask, you don't get. So I'm asking.
True.
But
and another thing I just sort of dawned on me. You talk about giving these folks pretty much everything they need when they move in. Okay, so I open up my closet in the morning and there's my jeans and actually I never hang my jeans. That's just me. But there's clothes in the closet and my jeans are usually on a heap on the floor just to reuse again. But do you have extra clothing? I mean, when we walked through the warehouse, I mean, you had just bags and bags of clothing and shoes and everything else. I mean, it seems like it's all.
Well, in a lot of instances, no, I don't have extra clothing. So we have had to go out and buy men's pants. So speaking of men's pants in your closet, because we don't get enough. And we have a lot of referrals for men, especially our crisis response is referring a lot of our homeless gentlemen into us. But we also run out of boys' pants or boys' shirts or we have to go out and buy. So yes, I do have excess women's clothing. And there are organizations that we share that with. And we still, back to Leo, we still go to Appalachia twice a year and we take a truckload because we've never forgotten what they asked.
The roots. That's interesting. And I did notice on your website, again, HopeForAll.us, that you've got another program for just clothing and you work with the schools. Is that, how does,
Okay.
I mean, because these are, and I mean, I know that and it blew my mind that we have, hundreds of homeless students. And the school picks them up. And I remember when I first learned that, I was like, my mind was blown. But I mean, there are people that are housed that are not homeless, that do have furniture that, but just can't swing the clothing for the kids. I mean, because, if they only, what's the commercial? If they only stayed little until they go out, I mean, it's, it's crazy.
They do. So, so we have a program that's called Head to Toe, and it's specifically for the Anne Arundel County school system. So anyone in the school system, any teacher, any PPW counselor can refer into us, and they refer families every day that need clothing. And so that's what that program was started for. And they can request everything that from underwear to socks, and that's always new, all the way up to a winter coat and everyday clothes. And so we, from one end of the county to the other. And so what's important about the clothing is that we will give that every year, because as you pointed out, they get bigger every year. So yes, and the families take advantage of that because it's important that every year they get the next size.
No, there's self-esteem. There's all sorts of reasons to have that there.
Kids don't go to school if they don't have the clothes.
If they're not looking cool.
I mean, well, I don't know if it's just that they won't, because they get picked on, and somebody will notice that they wore those clothes yesterday.
So the teachers and the counselors and the folks in the social workers in the schools are looking for the student that may have wearing the same jeans and they're dirty for a month.
Right, so they're going to notice.
So they're going to pass the name on to presumably the guidance counselor or something like that. That's going to filter down to you.
And they do it very discreetly. Right?
Sure.
Right.
And then you reach out to the people, or do the people reach out to you?
No, actually, when it's just for clothing, the agencies actually refer into us, and then they come and pick it up and get it to the family. So we're not delivering.
Okay, so the school would come up and pick up what's needed, and then.
Right. So with crisis response, DSS.
That's fantastic.
A lot of those agencies, the health department, they're right there. I learned of a homeless gentleman recently, and he had moved into rehab, and he was like, "But I was just homeless, and I don't have any clothes. What do I do?" And I reached out to the health department. I was like, "Help! This guy needs some clothes." And so he immediately turned around and said, "Yeah, I'll get your referral in. I'll take care of him." And so that way I connected him with someone that was going to make sure
he could come back to you and turn it right around.
And
sure.
but in the same time, wrap around and make sure he gets everything else he needs.
That's fantastic. What was your career before you came here? Okay, you volunteered and you never left.
I volunteered never. I had my own interior design business for 12 years with my business partner, Manny Mimmel, who is now the executive director of Drink at the Well in Coast
Okay.
Bay. So
look at that. You guys have the two alliterative names, Connie Cooper and Manny.
Yes, we do.
But is this the most rewarding thing you've done?
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like God, prior to that, prior to KITS, I was a facilities manager for a government contractor. But I feel like God has used everything that I ever learned in any of my jobs and everything that he's brought me personally through right here. So for 4 years I've been here, being able to love on people and show them how much God loves them, and in a way that's very tangible. They can see how much He loves them. They can feel it, and it's yes.
The impact on the community is immeasurable.
Well,
I do
my part. That's
well, I mean, it's easy to measure that. There were 382 families served, and we, put out 900 tables and 1,200 beds. Whatever the numbers are fine. When you see that you've been able to have a part of turning a family or an individual or a couple's life around, powerful.
Powerful, yeah. One family at a time is how we talk about it here.
Hope for All. HopeForAll.us, 122 Roesler Road in Glen Burnie. Connie Cooper is the executive director, and I thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, John, for having me.
Thank you for everything that you're doing here, and I love that I've now discovered Hope for All. And as I go through my closet and my home, I am tempted to rent a U-Haul and come on up and drop some stuff off the next time you have it. And I may stop by tonight and check out the yard sale.
Okay, you do it, yeah. And I hope it inspires others to do the same. And whether it's be donating or coming and volunteering or just finding out what we do and why we do it.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.